employee is probably the hardest thing that you will need to do as a business owner. When you hire someone, you need to know that in the back of your mind that at some point in time, you might need to let them go. Knowing that you're going to go in and change their life in a dramatic way is no easy task and one that cannot be taken lightly. Now, choosing not to use an editor, a bookkeeper, or someone who is not an official employee is not as complicated as what I'm going to go through in the future here, all right? That can be simple as the email and the phone conversation because you don't necessarily have a contract with them. But if you have a true employee, how do you let them go when it's no longer working out in your favor? For one thing, you need to make sure you do it correctly according to laws and the regulations in your area. That's where a lawyer comes in handy. Secondly, you need to be prepared for any emotional response that you might get from your employee. The time to think about letting an employee go is not when their performance starts to lag. It's when you hire them at the beginning, so you have those processes. It is your responsibility to make sure that you have outlined a very clear job description, clear duties and responsibilities, employee review timeframes, and a process for termination. You can't just wake up one day and decide that you're fed up with the issues you're having with an employee and today is the day you're going to let them go. That's really not fair to them. I've been in a situation at 3 jobs where I had to let people go, and all 3 times I did it wrong. Their performance had not been up to my expectations for quite some time, and instead of discussing with them and going through the proper process of notification and review and allowing them to get better, I talked about it with almost everyone else except them until it got so bad I was just so frustrated it had to be done. But that was wrong on so many levels. In the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, they discuss how no matter what the situation is in your business, you as the business owner have a responsibility in every situation. I take that especially to heart in the interactions and the environment that I create for my employees. If I need to let someone go, it means that I made a wrong decision along the way, and now they are paying for it by losing their job. Now, I know that isn't always completely true, but by taking the extreme ownership attitude to heart in situations like this caused me to really reflect on my actions and my responsibilities when someone is not living up to the potential and impacting the business. As soon as you start to see an employee struggling with the job that you have created for them, you need to set the course straight right away. Conversations can be hard and awkward, but if you create a time every week for a 15-minute checkup with them, and you both get used to doing that often, you'll address things before they become huge things. Open communication is the key. If you get used to bringing up the little things that pop up during the week, then you get used to talking openly about them, and you can catch things before they become huge things. And as far as formal termination proceedings, I would talk to your lawyer about that to make sure that you're meeting the requirements in your state. They can differ across the nation, and for Virginia specifically, we are an employment at will state. This means that basically I can fire an employee at any time for any reason as long as that reason is not illegal or discriminatory. At the time of this recording, there are 8 states that do not meet this definition: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Maine, Nebraska, New York, Rhode Island. So if you're in those areas, you need to check with your attorney about how to terminate an employee in these states. I highly, highly recommend getting legal counsel. Disgruntled employees can become bitter and seek to do you harm in very, very short order. This is one area where you want to make sure that you are following the rules. As far as the steps you need to take before you let someone go, I would suggest the following: making sure you document everything along the way. Even have them sign copies of things so you have proof of conversations about performance. At the first infraction, meet with your employee, discuss the situation and ways to correct it in a strict time frame when you will meet again. Second, this can be a follow-up to the first meeting, or after that, remind them of the first meeting and ask why this is still continuing. Let them know that if it does continue, you may have to take permanent action. Third strike, you're out. By the time this meeting comes around, it shouldn't be a surprise to them that it isn't working out. It is suggested that they leave the premises right away. You can just pay them out what they are due and be done. Make sure you've changed any passwords, collected any keys, and any company property immediately. Remind them of their non-disclosure agreement that you had them sign, right? Wish them the very best and advise on them if they can call you for a reference. This is a really brief overview of how to handle this. I would suggest that if you find yourself in this situation that you do seek the counsel of an HR professional and/or employment attorney to make sure that you handle it the best way. Lastly, we have to say this, the information in this particular module is not legal advice, and we are not legal professionals. This is just to give you an idea of the things you need to think about in this situation and should not be taken as legal advice. See, our lawyers make us say stuff like that too.